There's a lot of shitty reviews out there. So today we're gonna review some reviews.
What's up, you guys? I am Lex here with Checkpoint Chat, and we're going to be reviewing a review.
Me and Lex have picked out a couple of reviews of our favorite games, and we're gonna see how they hold up. First up,
Baldur's Gate 3, my least favorite game that I have played in recent memory.
Baldur's Gate 3 is my favorite game. Let's see how they talk about it.
So let's start.
Every once in a while, a game comes along that is so memorable, exciting, fresh, and well written that it sets a new high watermark for an entire genre. That's what I love to hear, all right? Already they're starting off right.
Already just like, what is the word? Glazing? Is that it? Yeah.
This is how you make a review.
Baldur's Gate 3 is such an achievement for the tabletop role-playing inspired swords and sorcery adventuring that its BioWare-made CRPG predecessors helped popularize decades ago. Oh my God.
We're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, right? We already know it. They did a great job at popularizing it.
Okay, so off the bat, I just feel like this person is already a fan of this game. I think it's hard for somebody that's like already a fan of a franchise to be non-biased.
I didn't merely enjoy my 130 plus hours on the journey.
I fell in love.
That's what I like to hear, right?
This man is full of shit. Is this a guy?
One issue video games have trying to adapt Dungeons and Dragons on the tabletop is that it's almost impossible to achieve the freedom and imagination. This is true, right?
How do I find out if this is a man? I'm gonna scroll down.
Imagination is mass. Baldur's Gate 3 is doing a good job at least trying to get a little piece of that.
Is it? Oh my God. This is a long ass, this is the whole review? This can't be the whole review.
I kind of like these writers. They know their stuff, I think, with Baldur's Gate 3. So far, it's looking good.
Who picked out this review? Why is this so long?
They even mentioned a couple of the modes, playing co-op, playing online. They're talking about how smooth and seamless it was, which is possibly cap. I'm not gonna lie to you. It wasn't as smooth when it first dropped, and this review is like day one, so it could be a little bit of cap.
Jesus Christ. All right.
So far, so good. I'm not gonna hold you.
First among this delightful cast are your companions, a motley crew of multi-layered, interestingly flawed characters who both grow and sometimes regress over the course of the campaign. Those are usually what characters should do, but all right.
Now we're getting into the characters, right? We're talking about Karlach.
Karlach? Yeah.
We're talking about Shadowheart, Gale, right?
Oh my God, okay, don't care.
They're doing a good job at least letting us know a small tidbit without doing any spoilers, which is an important thing for these reviews, how these characters are. I'm locked in.
I also really enjoy Lauren's approach to romance. Can we talk about that? Actually, okay, I'm supposed to be reviewing.
Obviously, you can't talk about Baldur's Gate 3 without talking about the romance.
Wait, what? Why are they talking about sex?
They're talking about some of the things that you can do in here. We're talking about the bear scene. At least that was really big when the marketing material launched.
I mean, everyone has seen the bear scene, right?
Solid, right? You got to talk about that.
Okay.
Now the combat.
Combat is carefully crafted to make me want to scream at the dungeon master. You bastard. And that's exactly what I was screaming because I feel like the combat was just very boring.
I know a lot of people have a lot of disregards for the combat here, but
maybe I'm just not a D&D girly. I don't know.
But it's all good. This is a Glaze-a-thon right now, right? They're on a roll of positivity. They're sticking with it. This is just a straight up Glaze-a-thon, which is okay if you really love the game. And clearly they do.
Reading through this, I feel like this person loves Baldur's Gate 3. And I think that anybody who loves Baldur's Gate 3 would be like, oh wow, this is a great review. Probably Ronell would definitely be like, this is a great review.
We also go into the story, a full Glaze-a-thon for the story, which I appreciate. Nothing but compliments, nothing but praise.
So many other smaller stories have me eager to play it all over again. Okay, here's my thing. I'm all down for people like getting their money's worth out of a game. But to tell me that you put in 130 hours just so you could play it over again, I just feel like that's kind of madness.
The final verdict here. They say, look, not every CRPG can aspire to be Baldur's Gate 3. Again, they're in full on, I love this game mode, right?
Yeah, they gave it a 10, a masterpiece.
The criticisms are there. These are real things that they mention. but they're locked in.
A 10 is crazy. When I played Baldur's Gate 3, and this was just my personal experience, it was very boring, dragged, and this was just the opening. I can't even say the game looked beautiful. I can't even say like the gameplay was like amazing or like inspiring. It just felt like it was Dungeons and Dragons.
I know this publication gets a lot of slack here, but this is a fairly good review.
I mean, they gave it a very lengthy review, but I don't necessarily think this is like a fair review. I think they were glazing the hell out of this video game.
I know this is what they do best. They compliment games, they show the positivity, but they did pretty good there. They did their work, they knew their history. This is a W review.
I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6. Length, detail, all there. Fairness, not there. Solid 6. Hate this game. It's very, very boring ass game. I feel like if you like it, you like it, but don't glaze it. Just be honest about it. All right, so now I'm reviewing a review of one of my favorite games, Final Fantasy 15.
This is a Lex game for sure.
I know how I feel about this game. I know that there were bugs.
I am not a Final Fantasy guy.
But let's see if this review is fair.
They open up nice and cute.
Final Fantasy 15's 4 heroes are the beating heart of the experience. Already off to a great start. I do agree with that. They are the beating heart of this experience.
Final Fantasy opens quite fittingly with a splash screen that reads, "A Final Fantasy for fans and first-timers." Funny they say that, because this was kind of my first time playing Final Fantasy. I played one before, but like I didn't really play it all the way through.
Having played every numbered entry since the first, I can see both reverence for the old and a courtship of the new in this latest chapter.
Clearly a fan, right? Which I'm interested in. I like that they put that they are a fan so that we can understand where their allegiances are, if there are any.
Its beauty, charm, and commitment to the bond between its 4 protagonists keep it glued together, even when some of the design and story elements threaten to pull it apart. I already feel like this is pretty fair.
See, there we go. At least they're telling the truth. It's the closeness that gives Final Fantasy 15's often incoherent story. If they would have denied the fact that these stories be a little ridiculous, I would have turned off the review immediately. But they didn't. So I feel like it gained my trust a little bit. Fully real-time combat, the single biggest departure. All right. This is where things get popping.
Fully real-time combat is the single biggest departure from a turn-based system of the past.
The way it makes you and your 3 AI-controlled compatriots feel like a cohesive fighting until it kept it mostly enjoyable for me. I will admit, okay, the fighting, when I was first doing it, it did feel like, oh, that's cool that they're like interacting. It did feel like I was fighting within a group, which is a big accomplishment for these type of like games, to like actually not feel like I'm just soloing and they're just doing stupid shit in the background.
I hear some people like don't really care for the combat system, which is understandable. But this feels like a pretty fair like judgment of going in a different direction versus like turn-based. Battles look like Avengers style swirling melees. That's so funny.
That quote probably aged worse than we would expect, because like Avengers at this time was really cool. So keep that in your mindset. They said it was actually good. It's not a derogatory quote there.
In this way, Final Fantasy 15 regularly packaged and serves you in these impressive looking combat moments rather than just having you truly earn them dynamically, which kept me from ever really feeling like Noctis' power was my own. That I can agree with. It does kind of turn into like a press one button to finish.
A lot of hand holding this game had. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but Final Fantasy 15, a lot of hand holding.
Yeah, you know, so far I feel like this is like pretty fair.
Speaking of mass devastation, it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy without the summon spells, and they're positively spectacular looking. They are. They look cool. The summons look great. I will admit that. You won't acquire one until you're 40 hours in. You made us go through this entire combat that we can all admit is lackluster to reach these summons, which are great, but it's 40 hours in. You got to play 40 hours of lackluster to reach the coolest part of the game. Not great. Not great at all.
Like I said, I already feel like a lot of things with like Final Fantasy 15 could have been a lot better.
Seeing as how the melee elements don't provide a lot of interesting decisions to make or techniques to master, unless you count wrestling with the occasional unruly camera, Now we get into camera. Yikes. The combat's bad. The best part, the summons, is 40 hours later. So you gotta deal with a terrible camera until you get there. Despite how flashy and stylish the game is, the meats, the mechanics, which is the main part, this is what we care about here, is bad. See, but then because this is a fan, right? They say, with all that being said, the promise of gorging my retinas on more eye candy and watching these four bond makes it all worth it. This is a person who just likes Final Fantasy. You just said the whole gist of the combat and the mechanics is bad, but since they have some nice banter and some flashy graphics that it's all worth it. Come on.
Final Fantasy 15 is like a very beautiful game itself. I love how it merges like two different worlds of like Final Fantasy into one.
I can't remember the last group of video game characters I could speak about with this level of familiarity. He really likes these characters, right? He's a Final Fantasy guy. I get it.
I can't remember the last group of video game characters I could speak about with this level of familiarity. That's a good point to also bring up too. I think they did a really good job at like building each character and making them their own person. And you kind of talk about them like you know them.
It's just a shame that the story, more or less, washes its hands of the open world for most of its second half.
When I'm riding chocobos across the beach at dusk with my 3 friends and hunting iconic Final Fantasy monsters in a huge picturesque world, Final Fantasy 15 feels like nearly everything I could want in a modern Final Fantasy. But when it funnels me into linear scenarios and drab, constricted spaces that plunge the simplistic combat into chaos, my blood boils a bit.
So this open world that we just said is good to explore is negligible toward most of the game. The combat is not great. The camera's not great.
I totally agree with that, like heavily. As much as I love this game, like it does like just railroad you into like a linear path all of a sudden. I feel like that breaks you just out of the whole experience and it can be very frustrating.
Closing, they said it's so much good here. There's so much heart, especially with the relationship between the people. I get it. We've talked about that all day. To give it a 8.2.
What did they give it? An 8.2. I feel like that's fair. I'm not gonna hold you. I feel like that's fair. A 10 would have been crazy.
Great. A great game. A great game being a game that combat is lackluster. The summons you don't get till 40 hours later in. The open world eventually not becomes a thing. The story is convoluted, but since it looks pretty and you like the characters, we can give it an 8.2 for a great game.
8.2 is fair. The combat is great. The character design is great. The characters themselves are great. But it just, when it starts to just make you go in this linear road and the combat can be a little bit, you know, not so satisfying.
Given the fact that this reviewer in this review went against most of what he was saying in the end there, just to give it this pretty ass 8.2, this is the type of reviews that are unacceptable.
Yeah, 8.2 is fair. Good job.
I'm giving this review 5 out of 10. I like the words that he was using. It was pretty. It just didn't have any substance. The mechanics wasn't there for this review. But I know y'all gonna disagree because everyone has different opinions on reviews. So let us know what y'all think in the comments below. Are we tripping? Are these reviews tripping? Like, let us know and make sure y'all stay for more Checkpoint the Show.